Let me back this. Is that better? That's better. Shit, that's a lot better. I had it on all zoomed in. Anyway, here's some garden stuff. My asparagus bed, I'm planting a few cauliflowers in here through the winter. I plant stuff in the wintertime in my asparagus bed because the asparagus is dormant. This is all dead asparagus right here. These right here. That's all dead asparagus from last year. And here's a new one coming up because I planted some more starts in here, some more asparagus stuff. But I plant stuff, wintertime stuff in there. Here's a cauliflower that I didn't pick that kind of got hit by a frost pretty bad. You can see how burned up these leaves are. So I just left it alone. That kale will probably come out pretty soon. But this bed here is a mixed mash of everything. There's some kale, there's some Chinese cabbage, there's some leeks, there's some red Russian kale. There's an empty spot right there, and that's purple broccoli down at the end that is taking forever to make broccoli crowns. It's a parsley. I believe that's red Russian kale, but it's almost growing almost like a kohlrabi. It's kind of bulging up, getting engorged on me. Some lettuce. My cabbages, still eating cabbage. We have been farting like crazy around here. We've been eating so much cabbage now, I'm telling you. Cabbage and beer, that's all you need. Cabbage grows in the winter. So, you can get all warm and snuggle and get covered up, and you're going to be hot boxing big time if you're eating a lot of cabbage. I just planted this stuff. There's some high temperature Sun King broccoli that's supposed to be heat tolerant. I'm gonna try it. I only got about 4 or 5 of them in there. And I planted some lettuce kind of between them. Planted some bok choy, pak choy, whatever people call it. Some people call it different things in different places, but I have some of it scattered in with these carrots that kind of germinated kind of thinly and sparsely. Look at them 2 big old cabbages right there. Boom. Gassy. Garlic, carrots. That's mustard. This is potatoes. Radicchio. Never grew it before. Butter crunch lettuce. That's a pretty good sized bed of potatoes right here. That's about a 4-foot wide bed. I stacked it pretty deep with some potatoes I got at the hardware store, some starts. This is romaine that got its ass kicked by our frost. These beets got their ass kicked by the frost. I mean, the frost came, it laid down enough ice that it just crushed my hoops. My wire hoops right here. Pretty good. Pretty thick stuff. I get this at Tractor Supply and I make hoops out of it. And then you buy this garden fleece, or you can buy the netting, or you can buy a black tarp type material that has holes in it. It's like a loose tarp that is for shade, a shade cloth. So you can use these hoops with 3 different types of things depending on the situation one you need it for. That's a pretty good looking romaine right there though. I ate one of these last night with some of my arugula over there out of that pot. Over here, I don't know if I've showed you the arugula. These are beets that are trying to hang in there. They got hit by the frost pretty bad, but they're coming back. They're trying. All right, let's go over there. See, I'll show you what I'm talking about arugula wise. I got some arugula in some pots that I keep in my little greenhouse right here. So they survived the hard frost. Some dill and some cilantro. I got this in the shady area right here because these 3 love to bolt. Cilantro, dill, and arugula. It don't take but just 1 or 2 warm days and they'll be looking like that right there. That was a broccoli rob that's bolted like crazy. But anyway, which there's some arugula right there. I need to get out of this little greenhouse, or it'll be bolted tomorrow if I don't get it out and put it over here in kind of a partial shade area. So I got starts going in here, some turnips, some more bok choy. I like that stuff. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And it sells okay at the farmer's market. I think it's because you just don't see it at the grocery store and people will buy it, you know. Some rosemary. You know, rosemary, you do it from clippings. And you just put them in there, you keep them damp, and they'll grow roots, and then you'll have a rosemary bush. So I sell them at the farmer's market for $4. I mean, why not? We got a rosemary, might as well just put some in there and get them going, man. I always keep a little 4 thing or a 6 thing of them running all the time. You never know when ours decides to die, or a freeze or a heat wave or a drought or something kills it. And maybe I'll have a backup to replace my own even, you know. These are marigolds. I try and plant marigolds because they flower so much, and you get a lot of pollinators. See, there's my rosemary right there. You just take clippings off of it, put them in some dirt, and keep them wet. That's some red cabbage. You got its ass kicked from the frost. Carrots, Brussels sprouts, a little bit of this and that. Have to keep the carrots covered. Anything you start from seeds and stuff like that, you have to keep them covered because of the cats, you know. Brussels sprouts. I've been picking these Brussels sprouts. That's potatoes in there. That's just catches everything right there. That's some potatoes over here on this side, and that's purple broccoli. My little greenhouse. What I've been out here doing a little bit today is potting up some peppers and some tomatoes. I potted up a couple of tomatoes a while ago. But, you know, getting stuff geared up for the spring, because it's the middle of February right now. And a lot of this stuff was started in my shop under lights and all this stuff. Back whenever we had that deep freeze and everything, I took the time, because I couldn't do anything in the garden. So I just got in there with my lights and set up my heat mats and got all that stuff and broke the seeds out and just started planting, man. So got a little bit of everything. That's some purple cayennes. Way too many purple cayennes. 2 or 3 of those will produce. Each plant will produce like a basket and a half or 2 small baskets for the farmer's market. Each plant. You just don't need that many. You don't sell that many purple cayennes. You'll sell some. You just don't sell that many. But all different types of tomatoes. Beefsteaks and homesteads and Romas. And got some little yellow cherries. I started some Thai pink tomatoes. That's just stuff. All kinds of stuff. I started those Thai pink tomatoes because I've noticed last year that when all the other tomatoes kind of fizzled out, those little Thai pink tomatoes just kept trucking through the hottest part of the summer, and they kept producing tomatoes. I couldn't believe. It must be one of the most heat tolerant types of tomato there is for them to keep producing. We were taking, like in August, we were taking probably 4 or 5 baskets of these little Thai pink cherry tomatoes. They only get about that big, you know, and they're pink and they're kind of oval. I've heard some people call them Thai egg tomatoes. They got different names. You know, maybe the egg ones are a little larger. These that I were growing were a little smaller. They were more of a cherry grape type tomato size, you know. Grape size is what I would call them. Not egg. I'd call them grape, the ones I was growing. But I've seen them that they call egg. Maybe they're larger. I don't know. I might have to try some of them if they're as heat tolerant as these smaller ones have been. But they just did good. So I'm going to grow some more of them. I made sure I saved some seeds to crank some more of them out. Anyway, this turnips. White egg. Speaking of eggs, those are called white egg turnips. The tops of them are actually white. If I can find one, I've already picked most of the big ones out of here. There's a few down in there. You can see the top of that one right there. Maybe see how it's white. they don't get like that purple look like a lot of turnips do on top. They stay white like that, and you pull them up and you cut them all up and everything. You couldn't tell the difference between them and a potato when you roast them, honestly. They're a little more earthy, I suppose you could say. You know, but, you know, a good potato ought to be earthy, to tell you the truth. This is more cabbages. They're a little behind the ones over there. They were planted later, but they're not heading up. But they're getting a little head. See, that's not very big. You see the size of my hand, but that'll, you know, we're getting into the warmer, sunnier weather now, and these will kick into high gear. I'll be throwing some fertilizer on these sumbitches because they'll start getting crazy, you know. That cabbage, those big leaves like that, it's like solar panels. Whenever we start having these sunny spring days when it's like 75, 80 degrees, that cabbage will take off if you can keep the bugs off of them. Get you some spinosad or some BT or something like that on any of those brassica type things. This right here is the same thing, the kohlrabi. Here's some red cabbage, you know. There's my trampoline bed. See, I'm going to do another one of these, I think. This is a trampoline. I put a fence around it. Put a bunch of compost underneath it. Made some kind of humpy rows under there. There's like a circle here and a circle out here, like a target. And I've got another trampoline. That one actually blew into my mother's backyard from a neighbor, and it just destroyed it. So I brought it home, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a bed out of it. And it worked. And there's the rest of it right there. See that hoop? See that trellis? Don't throw your trampolines away, man. There's another trellis back there. See, there's a second one. This is the remains of 2 trampolines. And even those posts down over there, those were parts of that trampoline that I had scavenged to make some fence posts. You know, like these fence posts are golf clubs. I sell on eBay, so I buy a lot of golf clubs. And a lot of times when you buy golf clubs, they just want to sell you the whole bag of clubs. You can't just buy the one putter in there that's worth $100. You got to buy the bag for $20 in order to get the $100 putter. So you end up with a lot of extra golf clubs, and I just cut them off, and I use them for fence posts. I use them to stake my tomatoes and my peppers, and, you know, them damn fence posts right there, they get expensive, and if you can use an old golf club, why not? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, here's my other trampoline right here. I might roll it up, put it right here, man, right next to the faucet. I could put a drip hose on it, put me a little fence around it. I got some more old golf clubs. You know, you're talking. I got a pile of compost. It's not quite ready, but I could put it underneath that and let it set. And by springtime, by the time I'd be planting some peppers or tomatoes in that bed, it would be ready. So, you know, I'm debating it. A little work. It wouldn't be that much, though. Here comes Spots. The old kitty. Spots is the female. I know Spots. Spots is a female kitty cat. She's the little princess around here. She fights with all the other female cats like Fat Mama Cat right here. These 2 cats can't stand each other if they get within 2 foot of each other, unless they're eating. If they're eating, they deal with it. But if they're just hanging around, these cats get near each other, they are hissing or they are fighting. And they keep an eye on each other at all times. If they're within eye shot of each other, they're always watching. And Mama Cat will set traps for Spots, and Spots will set traps for Mama Cat. They'll hide around corners like ninjas and pounce on each other. They are constantly at it, these females. And I have another female in the house. And Spots can't stand that cat either. Mama Cat doesn't really, she doesn't care. Mama Cat don't like Spots because Spots don't like Mama. Now the other cat, Mama Cat's indifferent to it. It doesn't care. These 2 are arch enemies. I'm telling you. Now the males, they get around, they get along with the males. They'll just hang out, play together and everything, but not these 2. Crazy. It's like their chemistry, man. They just don't have the chemistry. Here's my water catchment. comes off of my carport. These carports, I'll tell you something interesting. It's kind of filthy on top. I got some solar panels on it. Because these carports, the way they're designed, they have to lean them either forward or backward. And I remember when the guy put this in, he asked me, he said, do you want the water to run off the front of it, or you want it to run off the back? And I said, I'd rather have it run off the back. And so they put it in here and they raise it. The front of it's about 2 inches higher than the back. So the water all runs this way. Okay, and it just run off of here and dripped right here in a line. Well, I took this trim right here and I put a bend on it. I did the same thing here. I put a bend on it and made a U shape like this. You know, so the flat metal comes down and goes like this and makes a little gutter on the inside. And that one right there, I'm kind of pulling it tight because the screw come out. And you see the hole right there? I need to put another screw in it, but I just had that handy and I stuck it on there the other day when it was pouring down rain. But that catches the water and it takes it right down here to the edge right here to this end. And then it kind of hits this and runs down this metal and goes right in my barrel here. And there's another one over there that I got elevated so I can water that garden over there with it. These here I just use my water cans. But if you take a piece of PVC pipe, I heated this with a heat gun. Just put a bend in it. You fill it full of water and you stick it in these barrels. These barrels will stay at the same level. Even though the water only runs in this one. Even though I only take water out of that one. These two barrels will rise and fall together as long as the water stays in this bin right here. If you get air in it or anything like that, it won't work. So if you drain it too far, if it gets dry, you don't get any rain. You always want to keep 6 inches of water in the bottom of them just to keep the water in that hoop. And as long as you do that, when this one fills, they'll both fill at the same time. It's a siphon effect, you know. I got the same thing going over here with these two. See how I got a hose in the top of these? And they're the same level. Same thing, see? This one catches over here, and I got a faucet on this one so I can, well, I say a faucet, it's just some plumbing I stuck on there, and I can stick a hose on it, and it waters that bed right there in front of the solar panels. And then I got another one over here. This one just catches this. My brother-in-law next door had bought this for something, and he never used it, so he gave it to me. And it catches water, and I can put a hose on this, and I can water these raised beds right here with a drip tape. And one cool thing, timers. These tickety-ticker timers that I get from Walmart. These tickety-ticker timers work good on gravity stuff too. You know, so like if I want to water this stuff, but I don't want to forget about it and just run all the water out of my tank right here, or out of my other tank over there, I'll hook it up to that tickety-ticker timer and set it for like 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, it might take it down to here. If it's full, to take it down about here. So I can get about 4 days, 3 or 4 days of good watering through soaker hoses in these raised beds right here. And I'll even tie that one in sometimes and get these 4 raised beds just dripping and soaker hosing, and it soaks nice and slow because it's just gravity fed. So anyway, those little Walmart tickety-ticker timers are like $6, $7. You can't beat them for the price. Now I've got a programmable one and all that shit, and honestly it's kind of a pain in the ass. It just is. Anyway, that's it.